right, you are listening to Terra Monstrum, our show where we cover all things cult, horror, science fiction, pretty much anything culty. It's kind of hard to come up with a a slogan for things that are culty because really, it's like society deems what is culty. But Terra Monstrum is our podcast where we review cult.
Yeah, me and Chauncey need to indoctrinate ourselves into our own podcast a little more first. We're getting closer to a bona fide tagline every single episode.
I always have this problem. I need it typed out in front of me.
Yeah.
What exactly am I doing?
I think a few more chants, a little more goof juice, and we're gonna have something, Chauncey.
All right. This week we're talking about Bird Box. Of course, it's a huge hit on the Netflix. It was actually kind of a sleeper hit. It's like everybody made fun of it for a while, and then the memes came out, and then it blew up, and now it's like hugely popular. And I don't know. Let's start off. What did you think, Tyler?
I enjoyed it. Here's what I think of when it comes to Bird Box. I view Bird Box as what would have happened if The Happening was good.
Yeah. I come from a different angle where I do think The Happening was good.
Oh, buddy.
I know.
That's a whole different podcast. Tune in next week for Chauncey Likes The Happening.
Yeah.
What, why, and how.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Bird Box sort of fit into this whole it completed the hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil thing that horror films had gone through.
It's true.
We had the one, I forget what it was called, where they couldn't say stuff, keep quiet or something like that. And then we had the silence one.
Yeah, we had the one where they couldn't say it, like they couldn't even think. Remember that one?
Is that the Office one?
No, there's one where they're not allowed to think. Like basically it's if you say it, it comes true. There's some word, an evil word and an evil monster and evil coins. I do not remember the name of it.
All right, you're gonna have to message me that one.
Basically, they're trying to keep themselves from even thinking at that point.
Right. Okay. So this is the newest in a long run of this specific type of sensory horror or whatever it should be called. Right.
I think that's a good name.
And I liked it. I don't know. What'd you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I thought the pacing was really good. For those of you who haven't seen it, it does intercut to the present as our hero, Sandra Bullock, is trying to save her children and get from, one point to another. But this is, I think, 3 years past the main event of the movie where, everybody's killing themselves. So, they're intercutting her present day story with basically how it all happened and how she got to where she's at now.
Right.
Floating down a river trying to save these two kids.
Right. And that right there, I think, will answer some of the concerns that people had, because when I went into it, I'm just all, do I really want to watch a 2-hour movie about some chick in a blindfold? Am I really at this point in my life where
I can just go put a sheet over my head and put on scary music.
Right.
If I want to do that.
So that backstory really helped out. And, there was a little bit more going on story-wise, as there always is. I just kind of look... I judge books by their cover, just like everybody else, I guess.
No, I thought it was enjoyable. I thought the performances were good. I thought they stayed away from, I guess, as many tropes as they could. I mean, they still had the, who are the famous players? We've got John Malkovich as a curmudgeonly guy who's drinking himself to death, basically, and screw everybody. Why are you all acting with any emotion? I'm illogical.
Right. And, it was a little too shoved down our throat, but I mean, I understood the necessity for that character.
Yeah. And then we did have, of course, a dumb character who lets the bad guys in and manages to ruin the house on her own. So
yeah, totally. My favorite is that couple who just are all like, oh my God, we're all dying. It's the apocalypse. We should have sex on the laundry porch.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm just all like, I'm a pretty typical red-blooded heterosexual American. I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but something that I think we all understand from 80s movies like Meatballs.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys. And during the apocalypse, I gotta say, I don't think that would cross my mind.
I feel like I've never been in a terror sex scenario without Shotzi.
No, no,
Like
no.
there is that. I don't know that I've ever done anything scary enough or had anything scary enough happen to me
Yeah, yeah,
where I could get the adrenaline of this horrible instance confused with my penis. So
yeah, yeah. Totally. I get that we live in a world where people are just all like, yeah, whip me, treat me like a pachyderm. It's great, but I make like no connection there, no connection whatsoever. And every time I see it in a movie, I'm just, oh, whoa, these people are crazy.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
that's what I think. Also, I don't know, explaining that when somebody walks in, like, sorry. I
yeah,
I know the world's ending outside and you're terrified, but I got really horny and I needed to take care of this
right.
right now.
This is how I wanted to go out.
So
you know. Yeah, totally ridiculous. I found that was my only truly disappointing non-realistic moment of the movie.
yeah, yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I think that was the biggest stretch by far.
but before I start insulting more things, I'll put in some of my compliments. And for one, I was really sort of enamored, even though it was a small part, by Sarah Paulson.
Well, I mean, it's Sarah Paulson number one. Like she's basically she's a treasure of our times. She's a great actress and continues to do horror, much to my delight and probably the confusion of her manager. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I thought Sandra Bullock did really well.
yeah, yeah, me
My
too.
complaint about Sandra Bullock is, and no insult to her, she's a very
Mm.
beautiful woman, but I felt that she was a little Botoxy.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was kind of, when I would look at her, I'm just all, I'm not getting the end of the world vibe out of this situation.
Okay, okay. So when you say Botox, you mean more like a little too put together.
A little too put together.
Like she
Yeah.
looked like a woman who's still possibly putting on makeup every day. Is that
Yeah. 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 And also a little Botoxy.
yeah. Yeah.
you know I just found it her to be a little too, well, I think Sarah Paulson's really pretty too. It's not a pretty thing. There was just something about her,
Yeah.
that was pulling me out of it.
Now I understand, but that is the Hollywood we live in at this point, and I don't know. Every time I see somebody's lips get bigger, I think it's weird, but I guess if you live in a place where beauty standards say everybody's lips should get bigger every year,
Yeah, what do you
eventually
think?
you're into it.
Right, it's like
So,
a cultural disparity. I just don't get
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think it's very strange, but I also think these like insulated communities of wealthy people doing odd things to themselves to stay young is also it's it's a world I don't live in. So,
yeah. Well, even in my day-to-day conservative Northern California town,
mhm,
um my wife, who I should illustrate, neither of us are conservative, but we live in a town that is.
mhm,
And like, she'll be gussying herself up to go out. And sometimes she wears this lipstick that's a plumper.
mhm.
And apparently what this stuff does is it irritates your lips so they swell up a little bit.
Yeah, I think they use bee venom.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't notice too much, but she always says that she's wearing it, and I'm just all like, that is just so weird that you're like basically rubbing toxins on your lip.
It is.
She won't use any product that has like parabens or BPAs or anything, but
Mhm.
she'll rub bee venom on her lips to go out and have some vodka. It's
Yeah.
like,
No, that's have you brought it up to her exactly that way and seen what response she gives you?
it's even worse than that. She brought it up to me
Oh
exactly.
no. So she recognizes what she's doing and she's
Oh
still
yeah.
doing it.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she's got her bachelor's in sociology. All she does is recognize this stuff.
Okay, she's on top of it then.
Yeah. She doesn't know what's wrong with her either.
And
All
now
right.
here's Chauncey's wife telling us why she puts bee venom on her.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be some bonus
That
content.
will, yeah, yeah.
um, but I gotta say, complaint wise, I have my typical Netflix complaint, and I really wonder, and I think we've talked about it before, how
Mhm.
these movies get on Netflix. I mean, aren't they gunning for the theater and they didn't make it and Netflix picked it up?
Well, I think this one was made specifically for Netflix.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think this was a theater loss leader or anything, because Sandra Bullock doesn't need to be doing movies that can't make it into a theater,
Right,
especially horror movies. Like, she's at the top of her game right now still. So
right. So she's gunning for the new medium, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my guess.
Well, with most of these Netflix films, I think you referred to it the other day as fitting an hour long movie into an hour and a half long slot.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it was necessarily a whole half hour, but I mean, this movie probably needed about 15 minutes more story and dialogue to fill this time that it used.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. It definitely doesn't answer any questions. So people who like a movie where, you really understand the what and the whys of it at the end, you're not going to get that here. You're not going to find out where the creatures came from. You're not going to find out exactly what they are. You're not going to find out why they're doing what they're doing. And I think more egregiously for me, um, there is a sect of people in the movie who are capable of seeing this monster, but then not killing themselves. And
Right.
we do
So
not find out what the
hold on, hold on, hold
psychological
on, hold on,
difference
hold
is
on, hold
really.
on, hold on. Let's throw out the disclaimer. We're about to move on to some potential spoilers. Pause now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I feel like the
Go
whole
ahead. I agree.
podcast is a spoilers.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
never know, but
Yeah.
this is one of those ones where it's a mystery
Yeah.
and you're doing your thing. Okay, so you're right. We never ever see the critter.
Yeah, and I'm fine with not seeing the critter. Like, it's enough for me to know that it has mass and can't just get through a door or something. We do see it move leaves around when it goes through something. So I mean, they have mass, they do exist. It's not in people's heads. It's a physical creature. But when someone sees it, hypothetically, they then see uh, something that makes them want to kill themselves, whether it's the worst thing they've ever awful horror or what, we don't quite know, whether it's telling them awful things about themselves. We get little tastes of it, but presumably it's different for everybody. And there is a group of people who basically formed a death cult around these monsters who want people to see it, because we get news that some of them might have been from a mental hospital, so there could be a psychological break there that lets them see it and not kill themselves. But we don't really find out why.
Right. And that's one part that really really made me curious because I always want to know this stuff. I'm sure other people do, but I think I probably put way too much emotional investment into wanting to know it
Yeah.
compared to most. And so what do you think? Do you think it was like science fiction aliens or do you think it was like demonic divine?
Uh, I mean, I hadn't considered it really. I would say demonic, divine type creatures. Um, it didn't feel alien to me. Also, because I mean, we don't even know what these things use for resources. Like, it didn't feel like they came to our planet for any particular purpose. Like, it's not a horror movie where they're coming to get our gold to fuel their rocket ships,
Or to put in their
or
atmosphere?
or get our water or get our food or whatever. Like,
Yeah, but the xenomorphs, that's all they did is they put them down on a planet, they killed everybody, and then they died off, and then they could take over the planet.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, but those certainly, like, a xenomorph is designed to be a death machine.
Yeah.
So
I was definitely feeling more science fiction potential here
Mhm.
than paranormal.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you felt more like aliens than
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But now that you say that, I definitely see that I probably should have leaned it the other way. That probably was some sort of spiritual potential here, and which makes me think of the other movie that this reminded me of that I didn't bring up earlier, and that's
Mm.
Pulse. Did you see Pulse?
I feel the memory of Pulse floating around in my brain, but I
It
can't
was
peg it.
Kristen Bell, and ghosts were coming through technology, and they had to ditch their phones, and the guy was all wrapped in red in the room because
Kristen Bell, isn't that the one I thought she was in the one with the video game? Is that
maybe
Pulse?
which
I
video
thought
game?
The one where there's a video game, and if you play it and die in the game, then you die that way in real life.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Okay,
I avoided that one.
it's not a good movie, and I recall Kristen Bell being in that one,
Uh,
but I don't recall Pulse.
yeah, she's an enigma. One of those people that's like considered totally credible by society, but most of her films are terrible.
This is true.
Yeah, yeah. So, Bird Box, I was really disappointed that I didn't have a little more of an answer. So, I really kind of want a sequel so that we can get some backstory.
Yeah, it is based off a book, and unfortunately, I know that there's no sequel to the book.
You're
So
right. Not
I
yet.
feel like,
Not yet.
yeah, I feel like odds are very slim we would ever get a sequel
And apparently,
to the
the
film.
writer Josh Mallerman was the singer for a rock band, The High Strung. Are you familiar with this band?
I am not.
Me neither.
Oh,
It's sort of indie. From what I've read about him, indie. I just hadn't had a chance to listen to him. And so Josh Mallerman has actually been picked up by Netflix for a new series. I guess they liked Bird Box to the point where they've now picked him up for a series.
well, good for him.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Seeing how we haven't heard of his band and we're both band guys,
Yeah.
it's
Haven't heard of his
probably
band. We'll see how his other work shakes out.
it's probably
Netflix.
good that he diversifies.
Yeah.
So, in the end, my view of this movie is very excited, very into it, chasing all this stuff, a few slight disappointments, and at the end, I'm all like, what? And that's pretty much my view of Bird Box. You know, did you walk away thinking like, hey, that was great? Or
I walked away thinking like that was a fine film. Not it's not one that I would go back and watch again. It's not one that I'd consider a classic.
right, yeah,
Uh,
I could see that. You know.
yeah.
I think I brought it up before that I've been ruined by Tolkien and Robotech. Like I expect epics, I expect all answers, I expect the romantic side story characters to find out what's up with their grandchildren. You know, it's like I've been ruined by these sort of epics that I love.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say it doesn't have to reach that in order to give us just a little bit more as far as
Yeah.
world building goes.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I mean, really, to me, the fact that somebody can survive this and then gets, when they're touched by the creature and they survive it, they get this weird stuff in their eyeballs, like shaking around in their irises.
Right.
Like, what is that? And why are they able to survive? Like, it's certainly not giving you enough to bring in this whole layer of death cult that survives it and then can serve its purposes somehow. Like, the
Right.
what and why of that is huge and could be its own like 4-episode part in a story, like in a TV show.
Absolutely, and that's where the sequel lies. If ever
Yeah.
they make one, is in this death cult. You know, you can think, sort of like maybe down the lines of the Omega Man from the 70s kind of
Yeah.
death cult thing. Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool. And that whole death cult really is the part that piqued my interest the most because it was easily the most horrific part of the film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
But I got to say, Netflix, awesome. They keep putting out good stuff.
they do.